Hey, it's Carrie. Today I'm going to show you how I processed all the peppers in the July harvest video, and I'm going to show you the fastest and easiest way that I've found to process a whole lot of peppers. I wanted to show you a little trick with cutting the peppers. A lot of people just cut the tops off and you waste that little bit up top. But instead of cutting the tops, if you just go around the stem and cut that, you can pull the stem out with a lot of the seeds, and then you don't end up wasting a whole lot of the pepper. After I pull the stem out, I just cut the pepper in half and get some of the seeds out. I'm not like really particular with this. I just get most of it out because I do something else to make sure I get all of it. If you are going to be using these peppers for stuffing, the trick where you just get the stem out may not be the best idea. Whenever you're using peppers like the gypsy peppers, it's better to just cut the top off because there's not a lot of space to work with and it is really hard to stuff them. So you may or may not, depending upon the size of the pepper, want to do that. So if you've seen the July harvest video, you see that we harvested, I think it was like 16 pounds of peppers. It was like 3 buckets worth. It was a lot of peppers to do. So I was going to show how I process them, just the same technique. You cut the top off and then cut it in half and pull out as many seeds as you can. Also, if you have any red peppers that you need to save seeds from, don't forget to do that. It's probably best to do those first and get all the seeds sorted and dried and however you save them. So while I was chopping, I thought I'd share some of our favorite peppers to grow. If we only had 3 peppers to grow, that would be the Bonnie's green bell pepper, or a King Arthur pepper, some type of green bell pepper. Those are probably our favorites because they add that pretty green color and they're nice and thick walled. We really like ones that are like that. For sure the gypsy peppers. They add a nice contrast of color to the green and they are so very good and they are incredibly prolific. It's insane how good they are. And we had made stuffed peppers the other day and had several different kinds, and everyone agreed that the gypsy peppers tasted the best. So the next one would be the yum yum peppers. Now if you're watching the video and you see a bunch of smaller ones, most of them are smaller, some of them are bigger, but most of what we got were smaller ones. Those don't look like they would be worth even messing with. They're so tiny, but they have such good flavor. They literally taste like candy, almost like you watered them with sugar water. They are so good. I know they're so tiny, but they are so worth it. Another pepper that we tried last year that has become a new favorite is a jalapeno called Tricked You. It is so good. It's not really hot, and I have figured out a way to make jalapeno poppers that is so good with those, to where you add a little bit of spice with it and it tastes so good. Like, it's way better than anything I've ever had in the store. I wished I would have just got seeds for them and tried to grow them this year, because I don't think we grew near enough for how much we would like to eat them. Thought I'd share some of the peppers that we wouldn't ever grow again either. Basically, if you're shopping for peppers and the label has a really cool looking pepper on it, yeah, most of those have never turned out good for us. I would steer clear of those. Some of those that we've grown was the candy cane reds. They were like that. The purple beauty, the YOLO wonder, and the Valencia orange and a chocolate. None of those have done well for us. Oh yeah, the Red Baron, that wasn't a good one either. Another one we tried that people raved about and said it was supposed to do really good in the South and was really easy to take care of was called the cow horn pepper. And we watered this thing like crazy, and we had 2 of them die very quickly, like right after it started getting hot, and the other one we got like maybe a handful of peppers and they were pretty small, so we weren't too thrilled with that one either. Another one that we will never grow again is the shishito pepper. I know Jessica from Roots and Refuge raves about this, and maybe she just has a special way of doing it, but we were not a fan of it. They're like super paper thin, which makes it hard to even cut up, and they really had no flavor at all. We were not impressed at all. The last one that I can remember that we tried was the Marconi Reds. Those ones didn't do well either. They didn't produce very much, and they were a lot like the shishito peppers, where they're really thin-walled, and they as well didn't have hardly any flavor at all. So if you couldn't tell already, we are not a fan of hot peppers that much. We grow mostly sweet peppers, and we did grow one year. We had bananas, and another year we had the Hungarians, and we had a hot variety and just a plain like sweet variety of both of those. And by the end of the year, they were super hot. All of them, even the sweet ones. It's almost like they crossed. I don't know if it's because we live in the South and that's what happened, but we will not be growing those together. If we try them again, we will not have the hot ones with it, because it was crazy how hot they got. They were like so hot you couldn't even cut them up without wearing gloves. We really love peppers here. Most of my family aren't the biggest fans of onions, so we basically use peppers in place of onions, and they are really easy to grow as long as you make sure they have enough of water. And sometimes it'll get so hot that they don't do too well and will have spots on them, but for how little care they need, they are so awesome. And especially if you're growing like the gypsy peppers, they produce so much that they are well worth it. Well, after all that chopping, we're left with only 2 buckets now, not 3. So now I take the peppers and rinse them off really good. I rinse the inside and the outside. I'm making sure I get all the pepper seeds out this time. So that's why I didn't have to worry about it so much before, because I rinsed them all out and wash them all down the drain. Once I get them rinsed really good, I add them to the colander and put them over a bowl or bucket or something to drip into, so they can dry while I finish up the rest of the peppers. Now here's the time-saving part. Whenever I chop them all up, I just use a food processor on the slice setting and just run them all through that. This saves so much time. I've spent so many hours standing in the kitchen chopping peppers, and it's incredible how fast it is with the food processor. If you don't have one or don't have a lot of money, don't get discouraged. Just be on the lookout for them and you can find them. I've found them at the thrift stores or auctions or estate sales, and they are usually under $10. Also, if I have jalapenos to process up, I don't put them through the food processor. I just leave them as they are, just chopped in half, and I just put them in a Ziploc bag like that and freeze them for whenever I'm ready to make my jalapeno poppers. I had a lot of peppers to process, so we ended up with several bowls. Next, I label my bags. I like to use the quart Ziploc bags, and if you open them beforehand, it's very helpful. So get them all opened and labeled and then fill them all up. Also, another reason I like using the food processor is it helps get out some of the excess moisture that the peppers have. Sometimes whenever you're cooking like tacos or something and having to sit there and wait for all that liquid to come out and cook off, it takes a long time. So it's really nice that the food processor does that. You can either save the liquid and use it in things like soups or stews or broths or things like that. So this is the main way that we preserve our peppers. Just chop them up and store them in freezer bags and store them in the freezer. And we use them in different things like tacos, chili, Philly cheesesteak, roast, stir fry, in marinades and soups. We make different sauces like Chinese sauces, and also in mushroom and Swiss too, because my family doesn't like onions, so we use them like that as well. Our second favorite way to preserve the peppers is to pre-stuff them. You can make them however you want, vegan, vegetarian, with meat. Just make whatever mixture it is that you like to put in them with the rice and seasoning and spices and stuff them. And while it's still raw or not cooked yet, you just put it in the freezer to freeze. You can put it in the bag, but I prefer to put it on a pan first and freeze it and then put it into the bag. And when you're ready to use them, just thaw them out for a little while and then cook them in the oven like you normally would. The last way that I preserve my peppers is to dehydrate them. I just chop them like we did before for the freezer bags and dehydrate them that way. and I use them like that in like soups and stews and a lot whenever I'm cooking in the Instant Pot. And I also take the dehydrated peppers and grind them up and make them into a powder, and you can add that to so many different things like tacos or eggs, or I mean, it's endless the options you could do. If you would like me to make videos on how we stuff our peppers, we make several different kinds, or to how I dehydrate peppers, let me know. I hope this was helpful. Thanks so much for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. Bye!